Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Week 13 in the NFL. Week 13 here at the Best F and Fantasy Show. As always, I'm your host, Steve Albertini. Flanked by my three wide receiver set here, Jerry Procopio, Carmen Del Mastro, and our producer, Nick Specca, who we're going to check in with a little bit later, who I'm sure has a ton of questions, as it is a busy week in fantasy football for most leagues. This should be the last week of the regular season. So you're either A, fighting for a playoff spot, B, fighting for a first-round bye, or C, hopelessly out of it. Unfortunately, I fall in that category in one league. I don't even want to talk about it. Moving on, fire Andy, fire Norv, as always. Somewhere, Jim Schwartz just threw a challenge flag, and he's sick about it. We're going to emphasize the pickups this week. I'm sure that some of you are bitten by the injury bug.
This guy right here.
I mean, it's really going around. It's like a plague. So we have a lot of guys that you can keep your eye out on that will help guide you through a magical playoff run, we're hoping. And we're going to kick it off with that right now. Jared, give me a guy to keep your eye out on if you're fighting for the playoff spot this week.
I think the most obvious guys to look at this week are No Sean Marino, Michael Bush. Michael Bush, handcuff, pretty much defines his whole career at this point. Matt Forte's status in question. Michael Bush, always a solid start. Marino, he came in, surprise start. Everybody forgot about him. I don't think it matters what team they play. Any running back that's going to be the feature guy with Peyton on their center is going to produce.
Then finally we get to see, I know Sean Marino is a guy that people invested a lot in a couple of years back. Hopefully, we could finally see him start to pay some dividends here.
Yeah.
The Broncos, do have a favorable schedule going forward. Carm,
yes, they do.
who do you got? A couple guys.
First off, my man Colin Kaepernick. He's really taking control of the 49ers offense. The guy we talked about a lot in the past 2 weeks. So he's a guy. If you're thin at quarterback, go out and get Colin Kaepernick. Alex Smith isn't going to see the field much, no matter what Jim Harbaugh says. Colin Kaepernick's the guy in San Francisco, and you see him making plays with his arm, making plays with his feet. The guy could do it all right now. And another guy, Pierre Garçon, he's actually available in a lot of leagues. Looks like he's finally back healthy, or somewhat a shell of his former self. That is, he had the first game he came back. This past Thanksgiving, he showed flashes of the first couple games that he actually played this season. Broke off a nice touchdown run. He's a guy that has that breakout ability going forward in the playoffs. He can be a guy that can help you through the playoffs. Another guy like Bilal Powell, he's a guy I was high on earlier. He has 3 touchdowns in the past 3 weeks. He's a guy, if you're thin a running back, maybe give him a look, because Sean Green is not getting the job done in New York.
No, and good call on Pierre Garçon. As long as RG3's back there slinging it, it feels like every touchdown RG3 throws is for like 30 or 40 yards or more. I mean, the deep threats over there is crazy. Staying in that division, a team that has been absolutely decimated by injuries, and they're just absolutely atrocious to watch, is the Philadelphia Eagles. Went from being a very good fantasy offense for years. They've been absolutely abysmal this year, but Bryce Brown showed some flashes last night on Monday Night Football. Jared, do you think he's a good guy going forward?
Well, he had a huge game. It was against a team that gives up the 5th most points to running backs.
True.
But still, I mean, if McCoy's out, this is the only weapon on their offense that's going to put up points.
Do you think it's because they played Carolina and they had a good game? I saw you were tweeting about.
That's what I just said.
Yeah. Well, do you think moving forward though?
Well, I say he's a good start because he's also a great receiver out of the backfield. So I think no matter what, he's going to produce yards.
And especially with Deshaun Jackson now on injured reserve.
Yeah.
Brent Selleck's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, I mean,
Macklin hasn't. Macklin, everybody thought was going to become. This is the year he was going to break out,
right.
Move into that elite category. He really hasn't shown it.
No. Bryce Brown, at least he'll get the touches. one way or another, especially in a PPR format, he's even more valuable.
Mm-hmm.
What other guys you got this week?
Beanie Wells came back last week, scored 2 touchdowns. Yeah, it was against the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
This week he plays the Jets, who allow 7th most points to opposing backs. He should have another good game. His playoff schedule is kind of rough, though, but Arizona really doesn't have that many weapons. I think they're going to rely on the running backs more. So I think the Beanie produces. Don't expect too much, though.
I despise Beanie Wells. I can't have him on any of my teams.
Yeah.
You kind of know what you're getting out of Beanie Wells.
Also, a couple other guys. Rashad Jennings is going to be by default the starter again after Parmel's out for the season now. So he gets another crack at the running back position. But Jones Drew is supposed to come back next week or the week after. But yeah, this is Jennings' backfield right now.
Ryan Broyles is another guy to keep your eye on moving forward.
I said him last week.
Yeah. You say you sat him?
I said him last week.
Exposed him last week.
Oh, well, I'm just saying. Well, he's still available in
a lot of leagues, yeah.
A lot of leagues, so he's a guy. He's definitely clear-cut number 2 now moving forward. So.
I don't think if Titus
he
could
dropped
play
a touchdown
again,
too. It was right in his hands.
Yeah, I think if Titus comes back, I think Broyles is actually ahead of him on the depth chart. So I don't know.
Titus Young is just continually
idiot.
digging a hole for himself on that team.
Yeah.
There's another guy I want to throw out there, Nate Washington. His love affair with Jake Locker. Those two guys, they just have a rapport that, it's undeniable how much he looks for Nate Washington on the field, Locker does. So if Nate's available, also stash him. See what he does this week. He could be a guy that pays dividends for you in the playoffs, especially with Locker on their center.
What about a guy in David Wilson with the Giants? Andre Brown goes down. Bradshaw is still the guy, but he is injury prone, and David Wilson is a guy that highly touted coming into this season. A lot of fantasy guys expected some production out of him. Hasn't delivered, but maybe in this new role, do you see him possibly getting an opportunity to show something?
Well, like you said, Ahmad Bradshaw is one of the most injury-prone starters in the league. So David Wilson's a guy. If you have roster space, he's a good stash because he's still in the coach's doghouse a little bit. He's not going to get that much work. I just mean it's going to be more work for Bradshaw, and I think Eli's going to throw a little more. So if Bradshaw goes down, I think Wilson could put up numbers in a couple weeks.
Now, another guy I want to get your opinion on, a guy that we gave you a couple weeks ago as a who the is that sleeper of the week, and he's cashed in every week since, and that's Mohamed Sanu.
I thought that was going to be the last time we said his name that week, but nah.
He's really emerged as the number 2 wide receiver in Cincinnati opposite A.J. Green. Carm, do you see that production carrying over?
I mean, absolutely, especially when you get like you said, he gets to play alongside A.J. Green, so times when he's doubled, times when they have to really account for A.J. Green. We saw this past week sitting there with 2 touchdowns. One was an absolute beauty, and the second one was he was just sitting wide open in the middle of the end zone. So you have all that attention going to A.J. Sanu, the guy who can play very well. So, I mean, moving forward, I think he's a nice add.
It was announced that Jonathan Dwyer has become the new starting running back in Pittsburgh for whatever that's worth. It's a crowded backfield. We know that Charlie Batch isn't even resembling an NFL quarterback right now. So take that information, as you will. Do you see Jonathan Dwyer as a viable option going forward, maybe in a flex spot?
Well, yeah, he's definitely worthy of a flex spot because they said he's going to be the featured back here on out. He's going to get the touches. He's going to get whatever yards he can. Every week he's came out and produced the most at any one of those running backs. Mm-hmm. And before the season, in our Crystal Ball article, I was actually the one that said he was going to emerge out of that backfield and be the lead back. So, just throwing that out there.
Oh, good for you! There you have it, folks. Miles Austin out this week against a very vulnerable Eagles pass defense. Jerry, you have a couple guys that could possibly step up in his place and perform?
The last couple weeks, Carmen actually said Cole Beasley. Last week I said Dwayne Harris. They both came through, put up Dwayne Harris put up 7 for 91. Beasley put up 7 for 68.
We did it again.
Yeah, we did it again.
That's all we do.
The Cowboys, they're a team that's always find themselves playing from behind, so you got to figure they're always going to be playing catch-up. And I think these guys are going to produce, especially if Miles is out. I think both of them are worthy of flex options.
What about Justin Blackmon? The top receiver drafted this year gave us nothing the first half of the season, but ever since Chad Henne's been inserted into that lineup, he's really come on strong.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about Blackmon going forward?
Yeah, if you picked him up, he's definitely worthy of a starter now. I know owners were skeptical about starting him last week. Chad Henne and his mustache seem to be doing wonders.
There you go. I think the mustache has magical powers for Justin Blackmon. He's just finding ways to get open. Like they said, Blackmon and Cecil Shorts, those two guys, very nice options moving forward in the playoffs.
Another guy, Jerry, you were high on him earlier in the year, Jacquizz Rodgers. Is he pretty even split with Michael Turner this week? Do you see that going forward?
Yeah, after the team's bye, they started using him a lot more. The first half of the season, Turner was doing great, so they weren't using him as much. He's producing between 60 and 80 yards every game through the air, running, and he scored last week. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I can see him scoring Thursday night against the Saints. Another shootout between those two teams.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Thursday night football is absolutely terrible. It ruins everything.
I hate it.
I know. This is actually the first good game on Thursday.
This might be fantasy-wise. This may be
Aside
the
from
best
Thanksgiving.
matchup to watch this week. Just a couple of notes here. Houston, Baltimore, Denver, and New England, all AFC squads, can all clinch playoff berths this week. So obviously pay attention to that going forward. Not this week or next week, but going forward. Keep an eye on who may clinch a bye, rest some players, and plan accordingly. Great stuff. We'll be right back for Legends and Jerkoffs for Week 13. Stay tuned. Week 13, Best F and Fantasy Show. Welcome back, everybody. As always, follow us on Twitter at Best F and Show. Check out the website, bestfnfantasyshow.com. It's time for our Legends and Jerkoffs for Week 13. Jared, why don't you start us off with some Legends?
We just talked about him, Justin Blackmon. I think he's safe to use now. Buffalo gives up a lot of points to opposing receivers. Definitely worthy of starting this week.
All right. We talked about him earlier. Jerry, you broke him out last week. I'm going to break him out again this week. Ryan Broyles versus Indy. After 12 targets on Thanksgiving, catching 6 balls for 126. He, like I said earlier, looks to be the clear-cut number 2 in Detroit with Can't Get Right Titus in the picture. Indy's allowing the third most opposing wideout, so plan accordingly, but he's the other guy in Detroit if you want to start one of them.
All right, my next one, he's been pretty bad all year. Injury-prone, Hakeem Nicks. Washington gives up the 4th most points to receivers this year. Finally looking healthy. I see him having a big game.
He stinks. My next one, Stevie Johnson versus Jacksonville. Another guy coming off 15 targets. He holding six catches for 106. I see the Bills go to wideout, continuing his hot hand against the Jags secondary. That's also allowing the 6th most to opposing wide receivers.
Dropping knowledge.
All right. My next one, free agent in a lot of leagues. I'm going to go Devon Best coming off a career-high game. New England gives up the 7th most points to opposing receivers. They're going to be playing from behind all day. I don't see this production slowing down.
Okay. My next one, we're going Michael Crabtree at St. Louis. In the first meeting this year, he had 5 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown. And he also has 6 career touchdowns versus them. Every game he's played against the Rams, he scored except for his first game against them his rookie year. So Michael Crabtree is the Ram killer. Get him in your lineup this week.
All right, my next one, Josh Gordon. He hasn't had a big game in 5 weeks. They're playing the Raiders, who really can't stop any receiver. I see him having a big game.
All right, my last one. Another guy I talked about earlier, Pierre Garçon. Monday night looks to be back to his old self. And after a solid performance last week, this week he gets to face a iffy Giants secondary. They've been suspect at times, and with RG3's ability to keep plays alive in the pocket, Garçon could very well be a solid Monday night miracle guy.
All right. My last one, Beanie Wells. Jets give up the 8th most points to opposing backs. They showed confidence again with a full workload last week. I see that continuing.
Jerkoffs, Week 13, go.
All right, my first one, Josh Freeman. Denver allows the 7th least points to opposing quarterbacks. I see him having a down week on the road.
Sorry.
Sorry.
My first one, we go Mike Wallace at Baltimore. We saw what Charlie Batch could do last week, and with Big Ben iffy again this week, Wallace had 0 catches with Batch at the helm. expect much of the same this week against Baltimore.
All right. Steven Jackson, San Francisco defense, no good. Don't start him.
He played well the first game against them, though.
He did okay.
It could be a different game this time, though.
Yeah.
Next one, go Vincent Jackson at Denver. It's a tough matchup. He'll draw Champ Bailey and the Broncos, 6th rank secondary against opposing wide receivers.
All right. You just called him a legend. I'm gonna call Pierre Garçon a jerk-off.
You're so wrong. Don't even say.
I think he teased owners last week. Giants haven't been giving up that many big plays, and every.
What happened? Didn't Jordan Nelson burn them for a big play on Sunday?
Did he?
Sure did.
Yeah.
I missed that.
60 yards.
If they can control,
I think this divisional game, they're just gonna focus on containing RG3.
If they can control him with RG3's ability to get out of the pocket.
Can I just say
there's no way.
Can I just say we were saying all season, let's wait and see when RG3 plays that tough division schedule, and in the last 2 games he's absolutely shredded the Eagles and the Cowboys. I know the Giants are the class of the division, but so far so good.
I just have an instinct. I don't.
I mean, he is due to have a bad game.
You call him a legend, Jared. It's fine. You can switch now.
No, it's okay.
Just
Daddy.
Just switch.
It's okay.
He'll be showing his vampire mouthpiece all game.
All right,
That's fine.
We'll see what happens.
We will see, Jared. Typical.
All right, the next one.
All right, Ty, it's up to you. All you have to do is eat a little bit, and you're the champ.
Well, next one we go Larry Fitzgerald. He's staying on the jerk-off list with the quarterbacks they roll out there in Arizona. At New York, he'll get Cromartie. Another depressing week for Larry Fitzgerald owners out there.
All right, my last one. Ray Rice. Last time he played the Steelers, he only got 40 yards on 20 carries, no touchdown. Pittsburgh Ravens games are usually low scoring and boring. I see Rice having a long day.
My last one, Dwayne Bowe. Carolina secondary has not been bad at all this year. They're allowing the 6th fewest to opposing wideouts, and the Chiefs' offense. It's going to be Jamal Charles and Peyton Hillis all day, running the ball through that defense. So
it's that time. The whole world's been waiting for it. You gave them Mohamed Sanu. You gave them Lavon Brazil. No, seriously. You guys have given them sleeper after sleeper after sleeper all season.
How about 3 weeks ago, Charles Clay? He's slowly becoming like a weapon in that.
Oh, yeah. So we have like 80 yards and a touchdown last week?
Yeah.
Very active in the offense.
Yeah.
Who the is that sleepers for week 13?
What the is it with you?
All right, my first one. I'm going to go Daniel Fells. 4 targets last week. He played almost as many snaps as Hernandez. Hernandez is still not 100%. Patriots are going to put up a lot of points. I think he's going to make some plays this week.
My first one, Delaney Walker at St. Louis. Rams defense allowing the 11th most to opposing tight ends, and with Vernon Davis, you never know who's going to show up. Delaney Walker showed some nice chemistry with Kaepernick this past week against the Saints. I see Delaney Walker sneaking in there for his 2nd touchdown of the season.
My next one, Ruben Randle. He's currently listed as a 3rd receiver behind Cruz. I think Washington giving up all the points they do to receivers. I think Ruben Randle has a big game this week.
My last one, we're going Jarius Wright, Minnesota wide receiver, for those that don't know. The guy is quietly becoming a nice PPR find. Percy Harvin, again, questionable this week. Not sure if he's going to be able to get in the lineup. Minnesota, they really don't roll out anyone spectacular at wide receiver, so Jarius, if you're desperate at wide receiver, why not take a chance on him this week at Green Bay? We saw what happened. They give up some points through the air, so try him out. See what happens.
All right.
Test the water.
My last one.
Diddle him a little bit.
All right, my last one, LaMichael James. Kendall Hunter out for the season. I see this guy getting thrown in if they activate him. See what he's got. There's going to be room for other people, for the younger players to get opportunities.
All right, excellent work, guys. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Take some questions. Welcome back, everybody. Week 13, Best F Fantasy Show. Follow us on Twitter at Best F Show. I want to pass it along to our producer, Nick Specca, who has been busy all night on the Twitter board and on the Facebook page and checking emails. And he has our first question.
All right, our first question comes from @YoungRills, and he says, "Do you guys think McFadden will play again this season? I'm in a deep league. Do you think Benson will also be back for fantasy playoffs?"
Me personally, I was a big McFadden supporter before the injury. When he comes back, if he actually does, I'm not supporting Darren McFadden at all. I actually think the best running back for that scheme that they run, the zone blocking scheme, is Mike Goodson. And when he got hurt, it actually ruined a lot of fantasy fantasy owners' teams, in my opinion. He's another guy. He's a one-cut back like Arian Foster, not to mention any names, who can only play in that type of system. But moving forward, I'm not trusting McFadden even if he does come back.
What about Benson?
Nah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't put too much stock into any Green Bay running back.
Sorry to hurt your feelings on that one, Jared.
I don't know.
I know how you feel about Arian Foster.
It's okay. I think we should save that conversation for another day.
We have to. All right. Our next question comes from @JustinTimeNFL. That's a little shady. He says Spiller or Charles.
You don't f***ing understand.
Yeah, it's probably NFL. He says Spiller or Charles. Go.
This week it's Jamal Charles against the Panthers, the worst run defense in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree with that. Especially Fred Jackson coming back. They're giving him the ball more. Spiller's not getting the full workload. Charles.
Now, Spiller will get the ball in the middle of the field, not on the goal line, though.
No.
That's how it's Charles for me.
Yeah.
Our next question comes Everett Albert, and he said, what are you expecting from Jacquizz Rodgers on Thursday?
We touched on this
Yeah, we
a little
talked
earlier.
about it a little bit.
I could definitely see him,
Him and
5-6 catches, shady touchdown.
Yeah, he'll probably get between 60 and 70 total yards, maybe a touchdown. If you're in a PPR league,
slight bump
you got to like him in PPR leagues.
What don't you get about it?
All right. Next question is from @LT Hank Driven. And he says, hi. Can you please rank my defenses for the week? Arizona, Dallas, Jets, and Carolina. You got to one, marry one.
I would say
it was Dallas? I'm sorry, what was the third one?
Dallas, Jets, Carolina.
I would go.
I thought it was Arizona.
I would go
It's
Jets.
Arizona, Dallas, New Jersey.
I would go Jets, even though they
Yeah,
gave up a
New
lot
Jersey.
of points last week. Jets are playing a team that give up the most turnovers in the league, and the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, you got to go. It would be Jets, Cardinals, either one of those two. That's your start this week.
Yeah,
Definitely not Dallas.
No.
No. Absolutely.
Well, even though they are playing the Eagles.
If Dallas was healthy, I would go with the Eagles. But do they only have 5 starters left
something
on
like that, yeah.
defense? So
yeah.
I would start us against the Eagles. Right?
Our next question comes from @Ray Stands, not related to Ghostbusters, unfortunately. And he says, who do I start at my RB2?
I'm not asking, I'm telling you.
No, I'm telling. He wants to know, who do I start at my RB2 spot? LaSure, Steven Jackson, Michael Bush, Bryce Brown. I'm kind of leaning towards LaSure Brown. What do you guys think?
Kind of hard to sit Brown after what he did last week, but I think LaSure has the best matchup and most potential this week.
I like Michael Bush this week. I'm not going to lie. As long as he's going to be the starting running back, I like Michael Bush. He catches the ball out of the backfield. He's great on the goal line. So I'm going to go with Michael Bush and Michael LaSure. So it's going to be a Michael-Mikael mixture for me.
Can't get wrong with that.
I'm going to go with Bryce Brown to give us the shady backdoor cover in Vegas this week, Jared. What do you say?
I agree with that.
Shady backdoor. Nah, there's no way in hell that they
No,
cover
don't just be
any
sorry.
point spread.
Think for 1 f***ing second.
All right.
Shady backdoor cover.
Final question comes from one of our personal fan favorites, @Lloyd McCluster.
Yes.
I'm going to read his word for word. Sorry in advance. He wrote, fellas, I have a little bit of a conundrum. Who do I start in the flex? I got Sproles, Reese, or Garcon. #PPR. #Big Swag. Swinging by my knees. Thanks, Lloyd.
Gotta love Lloyd.
What was Sproles, Reese, or Garcon?
All I know is #Big Swag. Swinging by my knees.
That trending worldwide.
I think if Sproles is back, you got to go with him. But
Leap is back in somewhat of a capacity against the Niners. They just
Yeah.
didn't use him. They probably just eased him
they-
back in.
Yeah, they didn't use him as
But
much.
in my opinion, I would go Sproles and then try and fit Garcon in there for the Monday Night Miracle. In my opinion, I can't. Marcel Reese and Carson Palmer, those two f***ers. That's all I'm going to say about that.
I personally love having the Monday Night Miracle guy in there.
I'm sick of the Raiders. There's nothing good that comes from that team. Jesus, they got to blow that whole shit up.
It's funny, a week ago you were saying that you can see Carson Palmer being your starting quarterback every week.
Yeah, he's a real f***er. I got to say.
So funny how things change.
That's what we do. We change our minds.
Hashtag
I hope it was f***ing good because it's useless now, isn't it?
Give me Marcel Reese. PPR Dynamo.
Sake, man, you amateur.
Hold on. Because right now, no line in Vegas right now. But can I say something? This Broncos 7-point line that they're laying to the Bucs right now is really jumping out at me, Jared. What do you think?
Give me a answer.
Let me remind you that we are just a fantasy football show.
But if
We
you
don't
if you have
gambling.
some insider information for this weekend, please hit me up on my personal Twitter account.
If you have an addiction problem,
Seriously, man, you and me, we're done professionally.
at JPro.
I've
He'll
never
fix
had
your
a big
addiction.
behave like this.
Speaking of addiction, Black Friday sales. Our analyst, Jerry Bercoprio, got a Belgium waffle maker
I did.
for $8 on Friday.
I did.
Yes.
Well played, sir.
That's great. Jared, what else did you get?
I got a lot of things. I got an iPad.
Nice.
I got like 30 pairs of boxers at Target. They
What
were
kind of Under
$2
Armour boxers?
each. I got a
With
couple
literal form
t-shirts.
fitting, so
I
you know, it looks like
actually-
a
Are
division
they
sign.
trunks, or are they briefs, or are they boxers?
No, they're the briefs with the graphics on them.
Oh, so it's
Yeah.
like
That's good.
it says on the butt juicy. You got a lot of those.
Stuff like that.
I actually went to the mall Friday night at 6, got the Jordan 4s with no line. And I gave
Where
my
at, Nick?
brother
Where'd you get them at?
Foot Locker.
I
Just
actually
walked in and said, "Do you have the 4s and a 9?"
He's like, I got 9, 9.5, and 8. I was like, I'll take the 9.
I actually ordered a whole
shady
bunch
store.
of Adderall off of bodybuilding.com.
My doctor thinks I have mental problems. I have an IQ. I don't
And
believe
that'll do it for
That'll
that
definitely-
fantasy show. I'm your host, Steve Albertini. Join us next week when we talk about
It stops right there, and it continues right here, because what I think my colleague was trying to say is that that's all for Week 13. Best of luck to everybody trying to make a playoff push. We will not be seeing you next week due to scheduling conflicts, but please get all your questions and concerns in on Twitter at BestFNShow. We'll be eating the $5,000 Wagyu beef foie gras truffle burger in Vegas.
we are taking our talents back to Vegas, so that's why we won't be joining you next week. But we might have a special show brought to you by JPro.
Just strictly JPro.
We just may, so be on the lookout for that. Check us out on Twitter at BestFNShow. Check the website, bestfnfantasyshow.com. Good luck.
And remember, it's just a fantasy.